Hi, my name is Jordan Milner, and this is my video for Assignment 7, the communication process. The first part of our assignment was to analyze the communication that we had through the communication process. The communication process is the exchanging of information between a sender and a receiver, according to Lindenberg and Ornstein from our textbook, Educational Administration, Concepts and Practices. The first part of the communication process is to develop an idea. So the sender needs to transmit a message. In the communication that I'm going to share, I was the sender, and I'm the 6th grade special education teacher on the Extreme team at Walnut, and the receivers were the other 6th grade teachers that I work with. The idea is that one of our students who has had a behavior para from the beginning of the year would no longer have that para, and so we needed to make sure that we had supports in place for that student to be successful without one-on-one support. And so we had this meeting a few weeks before that student would no longer have the behavior para, so that all of the teachers could start using those strategies in their room, so that when he did not have the behavior para any longer, that he would be used to those strategies and that we could help him be successful in the classroom. After I developed the idea, the next step is to encode the idea. And when you encode the idea, that means you need to convert it into words. And so I did this through several different ways. I created a document that I typed up to the teachers that had lots of information about how to work with the student. I also had lots of notes that I had written out so that I was ready to share that information through face-to-face conversations. The next step was to transmit the information, and you can do that several different ways, but I chose to do that in 2 different ways. The first way was through written language, which was the document that I typed up, and that document specifically shared information with the teachers about how to behavior coach the student when he was having trouble in the classroom. And then also through face-to-face conversation. So we had a big meeting so that we could discuss the needs of the student in each person's classroom, and then we were able to discuss how we were going to meet those needs. The next step in the process is for the receivers, which were the other 6th grade teachers, to receive the information. And so I knew that they were going to receive the information through 1, it being sent to their email, and 2, through the meeting that we were having. The next part of the process is for the receivers to decode the information, which means that the message that I'm sending needs to be understood, and they have to apply their own meaning to the message. The next step would be accepting the information, and so the teachers could either choose to accept the information that I was sharing with them or reject it. And I knew that they accepted it because we had that verbal conversation and everybody was on board with creating plans to help that student be successful. And they also were able to share any concerns that they had at that time, and we were able to create plans that would work for every teacher. The next step would be then to use the idea. So the receivers then had to put the plan into place that we had created. And so all of the teachers had access to the document that showed them how to behavior coach the student. We reviewed the student's behavior plan, and so they needed to continue using that behavior plan. And then also we were utilizing in-class breaks, so each teacher created a place in the classroom where the student could take a break when he was starting to struggle, and so they were all able to put that into place in their classrooms. And then the last part is for the receivers to give the sender feedback about the message. I received feedback from the teachers right away that they were going to use those strategies, and then I was able to see those strategies in their classroom. And then I've also continued to receive feedback when teachers have noticed new problems in their classrooms where we've had to create more support for this student. So the communication was very, very important to make sure that all of the teachers received the information and were able to utilize the plan. If we had not used the communication process correctly, information could have been lost, and then we would not have been able to help the student be so successful. The second part of our assignment was to analyze a nonverbal communication. The nonverbal communication that I observed was between 2 teachers in one of the teachers' classrooms. It was during a passing period, and so both teachers were at the front of the room and the students were waiting in the hallway to come in. So they were nearby, so the teachers didn't want to talk loud. They were standing very close together, and one teacher was like hiding her mouth with papers. That way if a student did walk in, the student wouldn't be able to see or understand what they were talking about. She was whispering to the other teacher, so it was a message that she didn't want others to hear. Both teachers looked very, very concerned. The teacher that was the receiver was nodding as if she understood what the sender was saying. And then I later figured out that the sender, the teacher who was doing the talking, was letting the receiver know that a student was really struggling that day. And so she was discussing what had happened in her classroom the period before and letting that teacher know that that student might still be agitated as he entered her classroom. So he was getting ready to come to the receiver's classroom. And so she just wanted to make sure that teacher was ready, that that student just might need some calm down time. Their nonverbal and their verbal behaviors matched. The teacher that was doing the sending looked concerned, as well as the conversation was concerning. And then the teacher that was receiving the message also looked concerned because she was receiving a concerning message. It's important that nonverbal and verbal communication matches, because otherwise there might be some barriers in communication and the receiver might not actually receive the message or understand the message. Thanks for listening.